So as I always like to say, I don't like studying. You probably don't like studying either. If you say you'd like to, I doubt it. So anyways, today I want to share with you guys the stuff that I have done and the stuff that I have used to study. I've been studying for many years. I went to medical school in Cuba for 4 years. Now I'm doing nursing. Before that, I was one of the best students in high school. And well, the best one probably in my whole school. So today I just want to share with you what have worked for me personally. Maybe it will work for you, and if it does, it will help you sometime. So I do think that spending a little bit, like a few minutes watching a video to actually improve your study method will actually reduce how long do you have to study in the future, and it might help you a lot during school. So if you don't know how to study or you just want to improve, you are in the right video. Let's start. So the number one thing is that if you have to study right now for tests, you shouldn't be watching this video. The most important thing to study is to actually study. Many times you're gonna be like, oh, guess I have to do this system, or I had to design this scheme of how to study this project. Or the most useful thing when it comes to study is just opening the book and start memorizing. That's it. Watch a video, do whatever. The most important thing is usually time. The longer you're studying something, the more chances you have to dominate it. I never met anyone studying 20 hours a topic and knowing nothing about the topic. So the first thing is just study. Okay? Just in case. Now, we're going for the methods. So you probably already know this. The Pareto Principle says that 80% of your work will give you only 20% of the results, but 20% of your work will give you 80% of the results. What does that mean? It means that not everything is that important. Not every topic is that essential. So when you're learning something, you should usually, if you're smart enough, you should start studying those topics that are the hardest, or those topics that are the most important for the test. And usually you know which one are those, especially the one that the professor is talking a lot about. I know it happens sometimes that the professor is talking about something. He will say that this is really important, and then he's not going to test you on that. I know, I get the frustration. But even though you should always start studying the topics that are the hardest, or the topics that are the most important ones, or look like the most important one on the test. And after you understand the basics is when you start going to more details in a topic. Make sense? This is called Pareto Principle, or just call it simple logic. Now, this is one that it sounds weird. It sounds like it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. This is called the Parkinson law. What it says is that if you decide to study a topic for 5 hours, it will probably take you 5 hours to memorize it. If you decided you're going to learn a topic in 3 hours, it might take you just 3 hours. What it means is that when you decide a timeline and a deadline for something, you're going to find a way to achieve your goal for that deadline. So ideally, when you go to study, you don't say, oh, I'm just gonna sit, I'm gonna study. No, ideally you say, how long am I gonna study today? Okay, ideally I'm gonna study 3 hours. Then you put a timer and you just sit there, and you can just stay there 3 hours, for example. And you decide after 3 hours I'm gonna finish this. Make sense? That's better than just saying, oh, I'm just gonna study this afternoon. And you sit in the afternoon and you start studying, and you end up scrolling, you end up watching a video, you end up doing nothing. So Parkinson law means put a timer, try to calculate how long are you going to study, and try and put a deadline. Oh, I'm going to finish this topic today. Actually try to finish it today. Make sense? That's just simple logic, but it's called Parkinson law. Now, if you have an actual method to study, the most important one will be active recall. What is active recall? Just think on flashcards. You're learning a topic and you study today the topic, and tomorrow you might not remember much of it, or like in the afternoon. But if you have like flashcards, like many times in the day, you can check that out and you can be like, huh. And you just get the flashcard, and before you read it, you think, okay, let me see what I remember about this topic. Well, that, my friend, is the biggest or the best method of studying. The most useful one, wait, sorry for my notifications. My girlfriend is just sending me a lot of stuff. Usually, you wanna do active recall. Usually, that's the most thing the thing that's gonna help you the most out of anything is this. Okay, this is how I were able to master English in 3 months, for example. Because what I did was I have this group of words that I was learning. I was learning about 200, 100 words a day. But every single day I was doing active recall of the words that I learned till a week ago. So every single day I was learning 100 words, and I was doing a recall of 700 or 800 or 1,000 words. It sounds insane, but what I'm saying is you have to recall. You need to spend a few minutes. It's just a few minutes. It's not that long. Just a few minutes, and you go back and you check and you recall. So for nursing school or for medical school, how does that look like? If you study pharmacology and you already finished pharmacology, you might say, oh, that's it. But if you go to pharmacology on a Tuesday afternoon, like 20 minutes, and you recall a little bit, you're going to be even better for that. And if you have a test, what you do is that instead of studying the night before, you start studying every single day, 2-3 hours, and also you study what you studied yesterday. So you just read it. Sometimes reading is enough. But even better would be like you get your notebook, you close it, and you say, okay, let me think what I remember about this topic. Ta 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 ta. You start saying it in your brain or out loud is better, and then you check on the book or in your notebook what are the things that you cover and what is the thing that you're missing, and then you boom, you attack those. So that way you make sure you have non-weak points for the test. So that's called active recall. The easiest way is with flashcards. Amazingly with flashcards. If you had time for doing that, I don't like doing flashcards because I usually just go to the videos, take my notes, and then just repeat, and that's it. But flashcards is really good. Now let's talk about spaced repetition. What the spaced repetition means is kind of like, sorry if I mix it with active recall, but I don't think there is a way that you should do one without the other. Spaced repetition is that you're doing your active recall, but you're doing it like today, maybe tomorrow, maybe 3 days, maybe in a week. And by doing so, you will retain more and more information. There are some methods in which they tell you, if you study today, you wait 2 days to see it again, and then you wait 3 days, and then you wait a week, and then you wait a month. I don't know about that. I'm a good student, but I don't love that idea of centering my life on repeating stuff. But the idea is that if you have a test, bro, just read it. If you read it yesterday, read it today a little bit also, or think about doing an active recall today. And don't wait the night before the test. 2 days before the test, you can also do an active recall. And by doing this many days in a row, the amount of retention that you're gonna get is amazing. Make sense? And after you finish that topic on school, if you can spend an afternoon again and do an active recall after you finish that topic a month ago, and you do that in a couple of weeks, those topics, the chance that you're gonna forget that is lower, because again, the amount of time that you have already spending on them is even bigger. Again, the first point that I told you was time, right? The more time you spend on something, the more you retain and learn about it. And ideally, you want to space that time, because what happens with the brain is that if you can study 10 hours in a row, bro, kudos to you. I cannot do that. In general, your brain, if I put the maximum I could study without losing my focus, it would be like 4 hours, and after 4 or 5 hours, that's it. I need to chill, and that's it. So you probably cannot study every single a topic like a whole test in one day. Ideally, you want to study a little bit of hours every single day, and that way you're gonna retain more information. Make sense? Now, let's talk about the Feynman technique. The Feynman technique, it means you have to imagine you're teaching it to someone. So for that, let me show you quick what I have. I have a Funko Pop, but I have a collection of Funko Pops. But stay with me. This is one of them. This is, I think it's called Slade. Anyways, this looks cool. I don't know the name. I love marbles and stuff, but I'm not that big of a fan, sorry. But I just know it's cool. So this dude, what I do is that I study something and I put it in front of me and then I try to explain him. And even better, if I, oh my god, he lost his arm. Yeah, I collect Funko Pops, so I actually take them out of the box and I play with them. So if you have no idea about a topic or you're not understanding it, even better will be you get your Funko Pop, you put it in front of you, and you try to explain what you know about the topic on the way you see it. In programming, programmers have a method called there's the duckling method or something like that. So they use a squishy duckling, and when they are struggle on something, they just explain it to the duckling. So you just explain the situation and what you think, and by talking to the duckling, you're gonna find a solution. Again, it's better than ChatGPT. ChatGPT is good for topics that, if you use ChatGPT to study, ChatGPT is good for topics that you already pretty much understand, or you have no idea about them. But if you have kind of an idea, and especially for school, ChatGPT can, instead of helping you learn, it will make you feel like you're learning and you will learn nothing. But if you have your little thingy, you can talk with it and your brain is actually gonna work out. It's gonna figure it out and it's probably gonna find an answer. So trust more your brain. You're smarter than what you think. Now, the blurting method. Oh, something that I forget before. When it comes to of the video of the part ago, when it comes to the Feynman technique, like trying to teach someone or explain to someone, the idea is not just teaching. Is that when you try to teach, you realize that sometimes things are more simple, and also when you try to explain it, your brain is gonna be like, "What? I actually don't know this topic." And by teaching, you actually gonna be like, "You know what? I actually don't know this, or I don't know these explanations." And if you teach to a friend, and your friends ask you questions, and you realize you know nothing of the questions, then what is that? That's when you realize that you know nothing of the topic, or which things you don't know. So teaching is amazing, but just do it after you study. Okay, so what is blurting method? You empty your brain on a paper and then you start filling the gaps. I have done this sometimes when I feel like inspired and I play music. Personally, I only do it there. But if you are studying a topic like for a final, like you already studied that before in school, you already went and did like a test for that, but now it's the final test of that subject, then you can do this and it will help you figure out what parts of the topic you're missing. Make sense? So that's why I would recommend it for blurting. It's like you just blur it and you just put it in a notebook. Practice questions. This is the part in which you want to use ChatGPT, YouTube videos. Gemini is so good, brother. In Gemini, you just Gemini to do an interactive quiz about a topic, and Gemini will give you questions that are so close to that topic that you can even get. It will feel like it's taking the questions from the test bank. So you take Gemini, you ask the questions, and then you click on the correct answer. Saves a bunch of time. Practice questions is amazingly. Is as the previous method is a way of figuring out which ones are your weak points. I even have friends that when they're studying something, they use this app called I don't remember. But anyways, it's like Quizlet or something like that. There are many versions of it. Oh, Gizmo. They will learn the topic with questions. Again, if you don't like studying, it's usually better to study with practice questions than just actually study. If you're someone that's just going to study a few minutes, practice questions at least will tell you will see questions that are going to be similar to the test, and especially for nursing, and it will save you time, like a bunch of time. So practice questions is good, but ideally you want to do this after you already study and understood the topic. Make sense? Now, interleaved learning. I love this. You mix similar topics, so you stop confusing them. So what it means is that you start comparing instead of just, this is not for everyone. In my experience, there's people that actually struggle a lot with this, To me, I struggle with memorization, and this is my if I'm really good at something, is this. I can combine stuff, and I found a way, but the way you do this is when you do recap, and when you try to understand the topics and connect them with something else, you will see when you try to compare and contrast, you will understand better. If I tell you asthma and COPD, which are like respiratory diseases, you will be like, oh, they are the same. They're not the same. But you won't see that unless you put them one next to each other. And the other thing is that try to oversimplify when you're comparing. Because you may say, oh, okay, blah, 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 and you will repeat both. But if you try to simplify things, you will say, oh, asthma is like an allergy, and the patient takes albuterol and it gets fixed. That's it. And COPD is kind of like the asthma allergy, but it's permanent. Like they always have the lung damage, like the lung issue. They always have shortness of breath and stuff because they're smoking. It sounds oversimplified, but you will remember that. Makes sense? Oh, hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, low sugar, high sugar. And then when you compare again, boom, you get the connections. And then you start looking for the medication, the pharmacology. You start reading more about it, the anatomy, the physiology, and you see the connections. Now, what's the best combo when it comes to study? This is something that ChatGPT builds. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna tell you what I do or what I would recommend to you. Get a notebook. If you know nothing about the topic, get a notebook, and make sure that every single thing that you put on that notebook, you already know it. So you won't be writing stuff to memorize. This is differently. You're gonna get your notebook, and you're gonna study the topic a little bit, like a YouTube, like a note. And once you understand the thingy, you take the note and you put in your notebook. Why then you have the notebook if you're already writing what you already understood? The thing is that you want to do recall, right? So what you're gonna do is that once you want to study again or recall that topic, you're not gonna go to YouTube again. You're not gonna go to your PowerPoint of professor. You're not gonna go to the book. If you already went to the book once and took the notes that you needed, why do you have to go to the book again? Don't lose your time, bro. Ideally, you want to keep all your study materials in the same place, which is your notebook. That's it. You don't want to be like going around many times. You went to your PowerPoint, you took your notes out of the PowerPoint. You don't go to the PowerPoint no more. That's it. You went to your book, you took the notes that you need from your book, you close the book. That's it. No more going back to the book. At least unless you actually, but you know what the idea. And the other thing is that when you do this, as I told you, you put a timer. You decide how long do I gonna study today, and you prioritize that. You wake up, and if you can study before you brush your teeth, you do that. It's gonna save you time. So ideally, you prioritize your study. You decide how many hours you're gonna study. 2 or 3 hours. You put your timer. Pop. You put 3 hours, and you sit in that chair, and you don't stand up from that chair till you master the topic. Okay. For nursing school, something that the way I combine this, I haven't personally, I haven't read the book. I have to read the book like 3 or 4 times in almost 2 years of nursing school. The book sometimes is too much information, and books these days are horrible compared to the way you actually learn. So the best method I recommend, you go to YouTube, you watch a video of a dude that already knows about it, already knows what you're gonna be tested on. You take your notes, boom, you finish with your notes from your YouTube videos, you understood the basic of the topic, then you go to your PowerPoint, and then you see what stuff that the professor said that were important, and you add them. Now, this notebook is not your school notebook. It's not the notebook that you use to take the school notes. You take that in a different notebook. This notebook needs to be pretty, needs to look good, ideally, so you don't want to be mixing it with professor's notes and blah, 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 blah. So the professor's notes is apart. This notebook is going to be your active recall notebook. Okay? And last thing, stay with me. Brother, if you have stayed like this without editing, your attention span is amazing. Like, kudos to you. You're gonna do good on studying. So The reason why I'm doing this so good is because there's a bunch of people that ask me in school to do study guides. I'm sick of it. Sorry, I love you guys. I cannot do more study guides. I'm just gonna do videos instead. And usually, if you teach someone how to study, you don't have to tell them that much. So imagine this is your notebook. In your notebook, you have 2 pages, right? So you only gonna write down in this side. So you pass the next page, you only write in this side. You pass the next page, you only write on this side, in one of the sides. Why? Because if at any point you move 5 pages already in the topic and you forgot something and you don't have space here, you can write in the other side after that. Makes sense? If it doesn't make sense, just try. Whenever you're taking notes, just take notes in the same side, which is when you open the notebook, the right side of the notebook, that's where you take your notes, always on the right side. You never use the left side, you leave it empty. So when you had to, I forget something, oh my god, a question, they mentioned that, you write it on the left side. You always want to have space, so you don't have to worry about not having space enough in your notebook after all. Alright? And then after that, you do the practice questions. You get friends, especially friends in school that are good at the topics, and you do like a Zoom call session with them or a study session. And when you do questions, you will notice what mnemonics everybody use or how the way everybody's studying, and you will use those to you. That's smart, because you are the time that they spend some time to learn that topic and to learn it on their own way and with their own mnemonics and ideas and techniques. So instead of you losing extra time, you can just talk to your friends and see the way they learn it, and it will save you a bunch of time. When a friend of you is teaching you a topic, the Feynman Technique stuff, you will learn it faster. And when you teach them, they learn it faster. You get better friends, and that's the kind of friends that you want if you are in college. Now, example of study session, you can put like a timer for 45 minutes. You review the topic, you review notes from school, you put your YouTube video. You explain it out loud, blah, blah, blah. You see your weak points, boom. Again, ideally, YouTube first, PowerPoint second with your professor's notes, and lastly, the book. Lastly, unless the professor says, usually they say, oh, you have to go to the book, there is a table that you have to memorize. Fuck that. Anyways, in that case, at the end you go to the table and try to oversimplify the table so you don't memorize the whole table, just memorize what you actually need from it. So, final rule, I forgot about that. Final rule, study, spend time, put a timer. The timer and study is going to be the best. And after that, watch a YouTube video, bro. It's going to save you time. It's going to be more entertaining than the book and than the PowerPoint. And use your notebook, always a notebook. Or if you are one of those, you can use flashcards. What I don't like about flashcards is that just time to get a mess of them, or you get a bunch of them. So when you start advancing in topics, it's like a bunch of stuff. Ideally, I don't want it to happen on my phone. I get distracted so easily. So I don't like to have stuff on my phone to study. Ideally, I prefer the computer because I have there and the notebook here. And I put this phone on silence mode so I can focus. So ideally, you don't want to be using too many apps to study, because the distractions is gonna be too hard. Especially if you have friends that are texting you. My girlfriend is texting me. You're losing time. So ideally, notebook. Okay, it's more organized, more simple, more pretty, and it doesn't have to be a tablet notebook. Okay, I use a tablet notebook. Anyways, but ideally this is better. No need to fancy materials or fancy stuff. Hope this helped you guys. Again, studying is a whole university. There's a bunch of stuff that you can use. So don't watch more of this video today. I don't recommend it. Just even though I make money out of this, go study, and like in a couple of days you can watch other videos of this topic and other methods. Okay, don't focus your life on the method, focus on study. The methods, once in a while, watch a video. Okay, just focus. Have a good one. Love you guys and enjoy.